She took my packages from my porch, then claimed she thought they were hers. I showed her the label. She said, "If you can't protect your own stuff, maybe you don't deserve it." I said nothing, but I installed something she wouldn't notice until it was too late. So I live in a small neighborhood just outside Denton, Texas. It's a quiet area, mostly families and older couples. The kind of place where people wave when they walk by, borrow sugar, complain about the weather. Nothing dramatic ever really happens here. I've owned my house for 9 years. I work from home doing IT support, so I'm around a lot. That's probably why it took me so long to realize something was going on, because I was always home. I never expected anyone would have the guts to steal off my porch when I was just a few feet away inside. The first package that went missing was just a USB hub and some printer ink. Nothing major. I figured Amazon screwed up the delivery. It said it was delivered at 2:11 p.m. I checked at 2:30, and there was nothing there. I didn't think much of it. Then 2 weeks later, another package. This one had a new headset I needed for client calls.
Gone.
Same thing, the email said it was dropped off, but when I checked, the porch was empty. That's when I started to get suspicious. I checked the old Ring doorbell camera I'd installed a few years back. It's not the best, it only records motion and sometimes misses things. But I figured I'd take a look. I scrubbed through the footage and nearly missed it. But there she was. My neighbor, Shelley. She lives across the street. Early 40s, always in gym clothes, constantly yelling at her little white dog. I'd seen her around, but we weren't close. I'd wave, she'd barely nod. That kind of neighbor. The video showed her walking her dog, glancing up at my house, and then, like she'd done it 100 times before, just casually walked up, took the box, and left.
No hesitation. No confusion.
Just like it was hers. I stared at the screen for a while. I couldn't believe it. I paused the video, took a screenshot, printed it out. Then I walked across the street. She answered on the third knock. Same gym clothes, same dog yapping behind her. I held up the picture. "Hey, I think there's been a mix-up. You might have grabbed one of my packages by mistake." She looked at the photo. Not a blink. Not a flinch. She actually smiled. "Oh, yeah," she said, like it was no big deal. "I thought that was mine." I pointed at the label. "It has my name and address on it." She shrugged. "If you can't protect your own stuff, maybe you don't deserve it." That's exactly what she said. Word for word. Like I was some idiot for leaving a package on my own porch. I didn't say anything back. I just stood there for a second, then turned around and walked home. Because I wasn't going to argue with her. I wasn't going to beg her to stop. I was going to make sure it never happened again. And she wasn't going to see it coming. That night, I stayed up late. I wasn't angry. I was focused. She'd embarrassed me, not just by stealing, but by acting like it was normal. Like I was the fool for trusting the world to leave my stuff alone. So I upgraded my cameras. I ordered 2 wireless cams that had night vision, motion alerts, cloud backup, the works. Installed one under the eaves pointing straight at the porch. Put the second across the yard, hidden in a fake birdhouse aimed at her house. The birdhouse one wasn't just for the porch. It could catch her route, her face, everything. Then I set up motion sensors near the door, connected them to a smart alert system on my phone. I created a script to ping me the second someone got close. If she so much as looked at my packages again, I'd have her on video in perfect detail. 3 days later, I got the alert. It was 10:42 in the morning. I'd just stepped into the kitchen to make a sandwich. My phone buzzed. Motion detected, front porch. I opened the app. There she was. Same routine. Same dog. She didn't even look nervous. She grabbed the Amazon box and turned around like it was hers. I hit record, saved the footage, and walked to the door. I didn't say a word, just watched her cross the street through the blinds. I called the cops this time. Told them I had video proof. Told them she'd taken from me multiple times. The officer came out, watched the clip, and nodded. Said he'd go talk to her. I stood there while he walked over and rang her bell. She answered. I couldn't hear everything from across the street, but I saw the way she folded her arms, the way her mouth twisted into a fake smile. Then she handed over the box like it meant nothing. The officer came back a few minutes later and gave me the box. He said, "She says she didn't realize it wasn't hers." Again. I asked if they'd charge her. He shook his head. "Not unless we can prove intent. Maybe if it happens again." I almost laughed. If it happens again? That's when I decided talking wouldn't work. The law wouldn't help me. The only thing I could do was make her stop the other way. So I set up a little project. I started ordering decoy packages. Nothing important inside. Just junk, rocks, dirty laundry, junk mail. But they looked real from the outside. Each one had a small GPS tracker inside. I started logging the days and times they disappeared. By the fourth time, I had her entire schedule mapped out. When she walked the dog, when she checked her mail, when she moved the boxes inside. But I wasn't done. The next step was bait. I ordered a fake high-end electronics box online. The kind with flashy branding, looked like it had an iPad or something expensive inside. Filled it with old cables, dead batteries, and one more thing, a dye pack. Like the ones used in bank robberies. I found a legal version online meant for security testing. Not dangerous, just messy. I set it to trigger 5 minutes after being moved. Then I waited. It was a Thursday when she took the bait.
10:18 Uhr morgens.
I got the alert on my phone. I opened the cam app and saw her reach for the fake electronics box. She hesitated for maybe half a second, probably saw the brand, and thought she hit the jackpot. She took it, walked off just like before. I waited. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Backyard, south side. I switched to the backyard cam and saw her behind her house, just past her patio. She was crouched down, tearing into the box. Then boom. It wasn't an explosion, not really. Just a pop, loud enough to surprise her. A cloud of blue dye shot up, covering her hands, arms, and chest. Her dog barked and bolted. She screamed, dropped the box, and started wiping at her skin like it would help. It was permanent dye. I watched her run inside, trailing streaks of blue on her stone path. I laughed, quietly alone, but it wasn't joy. It was relief. Because she finally felt a piece of what I'd felt. Powerless. Embarrassed. Tricked. But I wasn't done yet. I compiled the footage. Made clean cuts. Labeled everything. Dates, times, locations. Added screenshots from the GPS tracking logs. Then I printed it all out and dropped it anonymously into a padded envelope. I mailed it to the HOA board president. Now, I hate HOA drama. But this was different. Shelley had been warned before. About trash bins left out too long. Loud music, her dog barking at all hours. This wasn't her first strike. I made sure what I sent was enough to count as her last one. A week later, she got the notice. Formal hearing for theft and property violations. But here's the twist I didn't expect. The guy who delivers our mail, Mr. Riley, came by my house. He's been on our route for years, real friendly. He knocked and said, "Hey, you didn't hear this from me, but Shelley filed a complaint against you with the postmaster. Says you've been stealing her packages." I just stared at him. She say what was in them? He shook his head.
Nah.
Just vague stuff. But she's trying to turn it around. Make it sound like you've been harassing her. I didn't even feel surprised. That's exactly the kind of person she was.
When cornered, lie. When caught, attack.
She knew she was losing, so now she was going to make it messy. I looked back at my house. This wasn't over. The next few days were tense. I kept to myself, mostly working from my home office, barely stepping outside unless I had to. Every time I saw Shelley's SUV in the driveway, my stomach twisted a little. I knew she was up to something. People like her don't just roll over. They regroup. And sure enough, weird things started happening. First, a note in my mailbox.
No envelope.
Just a folded piece of paper, written in neat, shaky handwriting. You're not as smart as you think. Keep your eyes open. No name. No return address.
Just that. I didn't react.
I didn't call anyone. I just added it to the growing folder of proof I was building. Then a day later, my internet cut out. I checked the router, everything looked fine. Called the provider. They said someone had called in earlier that morning pretending to be me, requesting service disconnection due to moving. That was the moment I realized she was trying to erase me. Not physically, but socially, digitally, logistically. She was using small, annoying tactics to mess with my daily life. Things that couldn't be pinned on her easily. Things that would slowly wear someone down. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I escalated. I installed a full security system, cams, motion sensors, smart locks. I backed up every bit of footage and data to multiple cloud accounts. I started logging everything in a spreadsheet. Calls, notes, alerts, any weird behavior. Because I knew this was no longer about packages. It was about control. A few days later, the HOA hearing happened. I didn't go, but I heard from another neighbor that Shelley showed up furious, tried to play the victim. She had blue dye on her neck. My neighbor chuckled. Swore it was hair toner. But she looked like a smurf with a bad attitude. HOA voted to fine her and place her under formal warning. One more infraction and she'd be facing eviction from the community. I thought it might finally be over. Until I woke up one morning and found tire marks in my front yard. Deep grooves cutting through the grass. Someone had driven up onto my lawn, circled once, and left. Not fast. Not in a panic.
Calm.
Intentional. And right in the center of the tire marks, a single Amazon box, ripped open, empty, just sitting there like a dare. She was trying to get a reaction. To make me snap. To bait me into making a mistake. But she forgot something. People like me don't go off the rails. We wait. We watch. And then we take everything away when it hurts the most. The lawn stunt made something shift in me. Not anger, something colder. She wasn't just playing games anymore. She was making it personal.
Public.
Deliberate. That empty Amazon box wasn't a message to scare me. It was to humiliate me.
I didn't react.
Didn't clean it up. Left the tire marks and torn cardboard sitting out there for a full day. I wanted her to see I wasn't rattled. But inside I was. Because now I had to decide how far I was willing to go. I thought about calling a lawyer. I thought about reporting her to the police again. But I knew how it would go. Just more reports, more forms, more we'll look into it. She was good at walking that thin line between obvious and deniable. That's when I got an idea. I started reaching out to other neighbors. Casually at first. Hey, have you ever had a package go missing? Ever notice anything weird around Shelley's place? I wasn't fishing, I was building something. Turns out, I wasn't the only one. 3 houses on our street had lost deliveries. One guy, Mark, said he once saw Shelley picking up a box from his porch, but assumed she was doing him a favor. An older couple down the block noticed her walking through their yard more than once. It was subtle stuff, but it added up. So I told them everything. I showed them the footage, the screenshots, the logs. I didn't ask them to do anything illegal. Just to start watching. Really watching. And telling me what they saw. Within a week, I had a full report from 5 neighbors.
Times.
Photos. Video clips from doorbells I didn't even know had cameras. She wasn't just stealing from me. She was stealing from all of us. So I printed everything out. Put it in another padded envelope. Only this time I didn't mail it to the HOA. I mailed it to her employer. She worked at a local property management company, pretty big around here. Her LinkedIn said she was a senior leasing agent. I figured if she was trusted with handling people's homes and money, they might want to know what she was doing in her own neighborhood. I sent a cover letter, anonymous. Just the facts.
No emotion. No threats.
Just thought you should be aware. Then I waited. 3 weeks went by. Nothing happened. And then one day, her car disappeared. Not for a few hours, for good. No sign of her for almost a week. Then I saw a moving truck. Her furniture was getting hauled out. No goodbye. No warning.
No confrontation.
Just gone. But that's not the twist. The twist came a month later when I was checking my mail and saw a different white SUV parked outside my house. New plates. Out of state. I watched from the window as a man stepped out. He walked up to my porch, looked around like he was checking something. Then he pulled out his phone, snapped a photo of my front door, and left. I didn't move for a full minute after he drove off. Just stood there behind the blinds, trying to steady my breath. It wasn't a delivery guy. He didn't have a package. He didn't knock. He didn't look confused or lost. He walked up like he had a purpose, like he was there to collect something, and whatever it wasn't his. I checked the footage. Front cam caught him clearly. Mid-40s maybe. Average build. Dark green jacket, jeans. No logos on the car. No business card in hand. Just a phone, a glance around, and then he was gone. I pulled the footage, saved it, backed it up like I always do. Then I started searching. I scanned through local forums, crime groups, even Facebook neighborhood pages. Nothing. No matching car. No mention of break-ins or strangers. Then I got desperate. I ran a reverse image search using a still of his face. That's when I found him. His name was Dan Reimer. He wasn't local. Lived out in Albuquerque. Used to be in law enforcement, retired now. At least, according to a public profile from a few years back. No mention of what he was doing now, but one thing stood out. He was Shelley's brother. Buried in a family post from some holiday, there he was. Arms around her and 2 other relatives.
Same face, same stance.
Caption read, "My brother Dan surprised me this Thanksgiving. Always watching out for his little sis." I felt the floor drop out from under me. She sent him. Not to confront me. Not to fight.
To watch.
The kind of man who knows how to intimidate someone without saying a word. The kind who lets you know you're being observed. I started checking my cameras more obsessively after that. Every morning. Every evening. Just to see if he came back. And he did.
Twice.
Always the same thing. Pulls up. Sits in the car for a few minutes. Once he got out again and walked past my driveway. Never looked at the camera. Never knocked. Never said a word. It was like he was waiting for something. Or giving me a chance to flinch first. And that's when I realized something else. This wasn't about packages anymore. This was about control. Shelley was gone, but she'd passed the torch. And now I had to ask myself, what was more dangerous, someone stealing boxes off my porch? Or someone quietly trying to scare me into silence? The second time Dan parked outside, I didn't check the footage right away. I felt it in my bones before I even opened the app. That cold, prickly feeling like you're being watched from behind and don't know how close they are. I stopped sleeping through the night. Kept one light on. Walked the perimeter of my house before bed. Made sure the back gate was locked. I even changed the locks, though no one had touched them. But it wasn't the house I was trying to protect. It was my mind. Every small noise, wind against the screen door, a creak from the attic, set me off. My hands would sweat just checking the mail. I kept waiting for him to knock, to step onto the porch and say something. Anything. But silence is worse. It lets your mind fill in the blanks. What did he want? What was he waiting for? Did Shelley tell him everything, or just enough to make me look like the problem? I started questioning myself. Was this revenge or escalation? Had I gone too far? I hadn't broken any laws.
I hadn't lit.
Everything I'd done, she earned. But somehow I was the one pacing my house, afraid to leave for groceries. I thought about calling the police.
But what would I say?
A man took a photo of my porch and drove away.
Please help.
They'd laugh. Or worse, write me off as paranoid. So I stopped calling anyone. Stopped sharing updates with the neighbors who once offered to help. I didn't want to pull them into it. I didn't want to make them targets. And if I was honest, I was embarrassed. I had started this as a quiet, calculated pushback. Now I was living in a cage I'd built myself. Every time I looked out the window, I wondered if he was watching back. Every time I heard a car engine idle too long, I waited for the door to open. And every night, just before I went to bed, I asked myself the same question. What's he waiting for? Sometimes I still see cars slow down near my house, and I can't tell if it's just traffic or something else. I don't check the cameras as much anymore. Not because I don't want to know, but because I already do. There's no footage that will make me feel safer. No proof that will make this stop. I thought getting even would feel like winning. But now I don't know which part of me is still mine and which part is just waiting for someone else to take.